Just a second. Hello, this is Second Soundwave, and for the first time in quite a while, as promised, I will be doing a Gundam review. This time it is the Red Frame Astray with Flight Unit from Gundam. Let's see if I can do this right. Gundam Seed Destiny Astray R. That's the kind of names and subtitles you get when you have a show that's been going on for 10 years. I think it was more than that, because I think it started in 2002, but I'm not sure. Anyway, this is a fairly recent kit. I believe it actually came out this year. Yes, it did. And it's a red frame, and you'll also notice that this arm is a little jiggly. And I did take this arm apart again, and I looked at it, and the polycap that's sitting in between the arm halves is just sort of loosely sitting there for some reason. I don't really know why. But there's nothing that can really be done about that. It might have been a building error while I was making it, but it's not. I didn't really notice it until like a minute ago. One big issue with this figure, though, I know I'm talking about issues before I even really show you much of it. That's just how I am. These hip skirts. They're really loose, and they fall off. And that is because the socket for the ball is, I kid you not, 3 or 4 times bigger than the ball. So yeah. They fall off a lot, however, they really don't get in the way of his articulation. Speaking of, he has pretty crazy articulation. You got this sort of inner shoulder movement, and then you got a slightly stiff outer shoulder movement, and it's a little hard to get things to move on the joint you want them to, because there are just so many joints. But you can see he's got elbow there and elbow here, and you can bring them together to get a full fold up for himself. Wrist is just a plain old ball joint, nothing fancy. Head's a double ball joint. I think he has, you know what, why don't I just pull these off for now. There. He does have a bit of that, but it's negligible. I thought he had a little bit of... No, he doesn't have a whole lot of forward and back movement. But anyway, he does... The only real... The nice thing is that he doesn't really have any sort of, I guess, skirtage or, well, you know, like hip flaps and butt flaps and crotch flaps and stuff, like a lot of Gundams do. He just has these little things which don't get in the way. It manages to fall off constantly. And that's not just a problem with me, by the way. A lot of people have that issue. But just in general, nothing really hangs out in the way of his legs except for maybe that. Huh, that's never come off before. We'll just pop that back on and pretend nothing happened. Anyway, I'm just sort of messing around with him, just showing you the kind of... He actually has this weird sort of inner crotch swivel, hinge tilt. Does he have double knees? Yes, but you have to bend them just right. You have to bend the top joint before the bottom joint in order to get the full extent of motion. And he has a good bit of foot articulation. So yeah, that's articulation. There are a lot of hard to apply seals on him, like those little red polygons right there. And if this video is a little dark, I apologize. I'm shooting this in the evening. Get back on there. Anyway, he's pretty cool. He's got some nice detailing. I didn't do any painting on this, and I didn't apply all the stickers because some of them were just stupid, in that they expect you to wrap it around a 3-dimensional area in a way that would be kind of impossible. But yeah, this is just the basic Gundam. You can do some really neat poses, as you saw with my other video, and actually if you're interested in seeing what this guy can do as far as posing, that is actually a fantastic video to watch. Let's see, can he do like the, well, there's a good weaponless pose right there. And as you can see, like most Gundams, he stands beautifully in such a pose. And now, let's take a little peek at the accessories. Hey, I'm back, and I noticed two things while I was gone. First of all, that I forgot to show you the box art in the beginning. So here it is on the manual. It's more or less the same as on the box. You just see the blade maybe extend out to like here, and you'd see the tip. But you couldn't see like the tip of the staff, not the staff, end of his sword there and stuff. So yeah, pretty fantastic box art. I also learned that in the new Gundam Build Fighters line, there is a version of the Red Frame Astray, because I'm guessing that that's sort of the Gundam equivalent of the Beast Hunters Transformers line, and that they just heavily retool existing things just enough so that they're worth buying. There is a Red Frame Astray Sengoku mode, or something along the lines of that, which has like these big armored shoulder pads and kneecaps and this new shield and two swords that actually sheath on his, sheaths. They go on his shoulders, actually in his shoulders, which is kind of cool. And he has a new helmet and whatnot. So yeah, this isn't the only option if you're looking to buy the Red Frame Astray, and I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't know that before. Granted, it could have just come out like yesterday, but for all I know. Anyway. A lot of these accessories you've seen in my other slideshow videos, so if you want to see them in some poses, that's where to look. I'm just going to go over them quickly here. And I apologize greatly for the lighting in here, because it is truly horrible, because it is after dark right now while I'm filming, and shadows are getting quite a bit in the way. But I'll do my best. Here is his pretty cool little rifle. I'm not sure if there's a name for this. Well, I'm sure there's a name for it, I'm just not sure there's... Yeah, okay, because I don't know even remotely what the name for this is, because unlike the O packaging, absolutely everything in the manual and on the box with this guy is in Japanese, so there is no way for me to know what this is. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a gun. It's a cool looking little gun, and he can actually hold it quite comfortably with both hands, as you saw in one of the pictures in the slideshow. Again, like I said, the handle moves. You can pop it right in his hand, and you got him with a gun. Next up, we're going to take a look at the shield. The shield's pretty nice. I did apply some bonus seals that it came with, which had a little, I'm guessing that's some sort of faction symbol and a little serial number. There's another sticker like it on the shoulder, as well as a black version of the serial number. But it's a nice little shield. It just pegs right onto the underside of his arm. If I can find the hole. There we go. So now, if he gets off his sword, he's got a shield. And what's cool is this shield actually has the holder, more specifically, has an extra peg on it. And that extra peg allows him to not only hold it by the bottom of his arm, along the bottom of his arm, but also along the side, which is very useful for sort of relaxed poses, because as you can see with O over there, his shield is always on the underside of his arm no matter what. So if you want to display him in sort of a relaxed position, his shield's going to be behind him, and that looks kind of weird. Same thing with Curios. But yeah, enough for the wall of Gundam, let's move on. Next up is kind of a odd accessory. This is like a double-barreled beam saber, but it has a really weird holder. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be some sort of semi-sentient organism, or if this is just a little sensor head or something. But the way it works, and it's kind of cool how you attach it, is that you take this right hand, it has to be the right one, and drop this down on here. Oh, I'm losing beam saber handles down the cracks. And then you take this piece, and then you plug that inside of this. And the result is actually kind of neat. Again, I really have no idea what that piece is called and what purpose it serves. It's just a big double beam saber thing. And of course, like every proper Gundam, he has beam saber handles. He also has what every proper Gundam should have, but doesn't always have, colored beam saber blades, and 2 of them at that, enough to actually arm him. So you can give him his beam sabers, and you can be all cool and stuff. And you can also take the handles, excuse me for a minute, you can take the handles and actually stick them right in his backpack. So he can carry them wherever he goes. And that is actually pretty cool. So yeah. There's those out of the way, so I've done those, I've done these, I've done this. He also has a pair of open hands, and you know what open hands look like, so I'm not going to focus too much on these. But now we're getting into the cool stuff. This is the reasons to get this set. First of all, this. Now, you might be thinking this looks a little bare, and it actually is. There are quite a few stickers I didn't attach. This big thing right here is supposed to wrap around the end of this. So you have like a gold part along here and a little bit of red detailing inside. But as you can see, this is a fully sculpted piece. And anyone who's built any of those little Kabaya candy model kits, or even some of the Gundams, like the, I think, wheel grade, was it? Or maybe it was high grade, Perfect Strike Gundam, is very, not really infamous, but very guilty of this issue. In that you have to wrap the sticker around this and it gets all crumpled up and stuff. You're also supposed to panel line in that part, but anyway, you might be thinking, this really doesn't look like a sword, and you're absolutely right. This is the sword. And again, there's this gold sticker you're supposed to wrap around here, and a gold sticker you're supposed to wrap around here, and silver stickers for the blade, but if you do all that, you're not going to see a single inch of the blade, so the only ones I put on were the little red ones on the handle. And now this, you actually have to take the back of his hand off for. Which is kind of, I don't really like it when you have to do that for an accessory, because that can kind of wear out the joint. And actually my double L riser, his hand, on some of his hands, the back wrist thing is actually really loose because of how many times I've had to remove it to put in different accessories. But yeah, what do we have left? The biggest and coolest part of this, the flight pack. Now this is exclusive to the flight unit version of the Astray Red frame. You won't get this with the normal or Sengoku versions of it. And this little thing, if you don't like it, you can pull it right off, or even attach it to the other side, but for now I'll leave it on because it has a kind of cool feature, which is that you can actually store his weapons. You take his gun, and you drop it down to there, and then you take the shield off his arm for a minute. And now you do have to pull off the connector, unfortunately, but you just pop his shield right on there. And now he's got a little bit of weapon storage. And this is actually kind of neat, is that you don't actually have to remove his existing backpack. You just sort of slide it down. Now it might come off the hinge while you're doing that, which is a bit of a flaw that this set has. Not its biggest by any means, but still there. And just wedge this right on there. And lo and behold, you have a unbalanced Gundam. Yeah. One thing that I don't like about the Gundam line in general is, my opinion, every figure that should have a flight stand should come with a flight stand. It shouldn't be some extra thing you have to buy. But anyway, that's an argument for another time. Right now, look at that awesomeness. I mean, really. Look at that. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention. This sheath clips onto his hip, but good luck getting it to do anything, because... Wait a minute. Write that down. That is the first time in history that thing has actually stayed in a position it was put in. However, if you try to actually bend it along its proper joint... Right, sorry about that. I had to recharge my camera battery. It ran out of memory space and all the usual stuff that goes wrong when I'm doing a review this long. Anyway, you'll notice that something that I noticed while I was setting this video up, which is that that little jetpack mount can be used to put his gun and shield onto his arm. So that's kind of cool. You can see you can like shoot stuff and block stuff. Anyway, yeah, these pieces are all flopping around and that. So yeah, that is probably the hugest, most massive downside of this entire set is that. Those little hip flaps. However, this whole thing itself is cool. But probably another big issue is, like I said, the stickers. They wrap around things that they shouldn't wrap around, and just overall, yeah, I don't know. I don't like them. It's something you really have to paint, or some things that should have, like this, they could have just could have easily made 3 separate pieces. Easily. But they didn't. Granted, this does kind of have to be painted, and you're even supposed to put stickers on here. But regardless, it's not that great. Also, again, hip flaps. What else is there? This is just, his crest is just pegged in. However, it's only come off once before on me, so I think it's fairly sturdy. For the most part, he is pretty sturdy, except for the little bit of arm wiggle and the fact that his outward shoulder movement is actually extremely stiff. However, the rest of his joints are quite good. Good things about him? Well, if this is enough good reasons to get this figure, I don't know what is. Maybe, I don't know. The fact that he has a cool removable flight pack. He's got beam sabers, and both of them come with the blades, which isn't always a given. He's got a shield, he's got a gun, he's got a way to store the gun and shield. He's got this little shuttle pod escape probe thing that shoots lasers out of the side that can become beam sabers. I mean, this is just, there's so much cool stuff with this, and they do actually manage to outweigh the few issues there are with it. Now there is, like I said, a Sengoku version of this in Build Fighters, which has like these new shoulder pads and knees and stuff. Lots of new stuff, but it is different enough. More different, actually, from this than most of the different frame colors of Astrays are for each version. It's less like this than the green frame Astray is. And it has like these extra arms on the shoulders and 2 swords and stuff. So it is almost not really a upgrade to this, so much as a sort of alternative to this. As in, these are both upgrades to the normal red frame, which is the version without the flight unit. And I believe that one doesn't have the little dog head sensor probe. But anyway, this is actually quite a good Gundam in my opinion. I like it. There are issues, but it's still good. This is Second Soundwave, and until next time, well, see you next time.